What now? No talking now?
It's a beautiful day in the gamerhood, a beautiful day for my gamers. Would you be one? Could you be one? Sound about thunder, but don't despair. This colony's breeding great robbers. Would you be one? Could you be one? If the 80% mortality rate works for you, for a few bucks a month you can sign up and have the hogs kill you. So let's make the most of another Sunday. Brew up some coffee and play it my way. Would you be mine? Could you be mine? Won't you be my gamers? Won't you please, please won't you be my gamers?
Hey everybody, welcome to the Gamerhood. I am your host, Jason Robot Hobbs. I don't know why I sound like a robot there. Tonight is Wednesday night, which is Tales of Argosa night. But we're not playing Tales of Argosa yet. First, we're going to have a little discussion with some of the players that's going to cover exactly what's happening tonight. Let's check in with our fellows, have them introduce themselves. And maybe you guys can, say something about yourself a little bit that you don't usually say, since you don't have to introduce a character, right? So what I'm telling you, what we're going to do is do a little player check-in and have a little discussion, and hopefully we can get some streamers dropping us some questions and giving their ideas. And yeah, I guess that's all there is to it. Let's head over to the tabletop. All right, fellers, I have a very small window and you guys have a very big one. So look good, have good camera control. And go ahead and introduce yourselves. Jose, let's start with you, sir.
Hello? Oh, wait. Sorry. Hello, everyone. I'm Jose. I am normally playing Tenju. Today I am just playing myself, I guess. I don't know, a little something about myself you may not know. Unlike some people who cannot tolerate gluten, I love it. I like extra gluten in my food. I can't get enough of this stuff.
Nice, Robert.
Hey everybody, I'm Robert, also known as Nolabert on different social media. I haven't been posting a whole lot on social media, to be honest, these days. I don't know what else to say about myself. I could talk about my gaming history. I could talk about other stuff I'm interested in. Sword and sorcery. I'm a big fan of sword and sorcery. Read quite a bit in that genre, which corresponds very well with gaming. I'm sure all of your viewers are big readers. If you want any reading suggestions, let me know, and I can give you some ideas. I know what's like hot and new in the sword and sorcery world. For instance, one of the books that people should be considering getting if they haven't already picked it up is John C. Hawking has his omnibus Conan books pastiche that just came out in the summer, hardcover.
Well, my gluten thing really sounds kind of shitty in comparison now, don't it?
Only if you are gluten intolerant and get the gluten, then it's shitty. But otherwise, I thought it was perfectly good. And I am Jason Hobbs, if you don't know me. I'm not really that much of anything. Run some games online, write a little bit, and talk a little bit about gaming. But as I mentioned, we are missing Gabriel, the sexiest voice from Uruguay, Spain. So tonight we are going to check in with the players and see how they feel about where the campaign's going, and maybe do a little show and tell, if you know what I'm saying. Jose, hit the show and tell music. Sorry. He's like, what? All right.
I was going to say, Jonathan Davis said Game On Dudes on YouTube.
Oh, awesome, man. Thanks for joining us, Jonathan Davis. John used to be on a couple streams here on the Gamerhood, but I think his characters all died, and he quit and then retired his dice. All right. So what do you guys, Robert, we'll start with you. what do you guys think is a good idea for when you have game night and one of the players can't make it? And what do you normally do in your campaigns?
I don't know. That can be difficult. You can do, I know of other like products or stuff that people have put out where it's like your characters get transported to like some different dimension, and then you play with the current characters who are there, players who are there playing their characters, and so they still accrue like experience points and stuff like that, but it doesn't derail like the where they are at that point, and then the session ends right back where where the last session would have ended. So you can kind of have that as like an interlude. I mean, it's a little heavy-handed in the sense of everybody gets transported to this dimension, and then how does that connect to the regular campaign? That might require some work on the part of the GM, but I am aware of like that sort of stuff.
Do you have any of these games that you'd like to tell us about?
Me, I'm not sure exactly which ones would come to mind right away, but that's what I've seen primarily.
I have an example. A good system for that kind of impromptu gaming, and I've run it actually before, back when I ran Stonehell, and we'd get a few players under. It was that Tales, I think it's called Tales from the Undercity. It's that procedurally generated one that you use. You basically roll everything. It's got in-town tables where as you're prepping for the adventure, you do your thing, and then you go to basically an entrance to the Undercity, and you procedurally generate the whole thing with dice rolls, and you make a few judgment calls here and there, but either yourself or you and a group of people can let the die rolls take you through a dungeon like that. And then the author of that made a second book called like the Mad Monks of Quantum or something.
Oh yeah, I've heard of that for sure.
Yeah, and that's also the same thing, procedurally generated, but I think it might be more wilderness type situation, and that's another one like that. I think those kind of books lend themselves to impromptu gaming, because all you really have to do is roll some dice and let the book lead you down a path, which I'm a big fan of.
So the guy we're talking about would be Kabuki Kaiser, who is on the list for season 2 of Hobbs and Friends. If that means
that's a
anything.
fun system. That's a really fun system.
Oh, so you have played it or no?
Oh, I've run it. Yeah, like I say, back when I was running Stonehell a lot, where we met Stonehell back in the day. We'd have a couple of times where it'd be just 2 or 3 of us. There was another time too, and I would pull out the Tales of the Undercity or whatever. I never ran the second product, but I would run the other one. I ran it multiple times. It was a lot of fun. He has a little chart where you start with an opening room, for instance, and then you roll what's coming through, what's in each door, what might be in the room, etc. And then you explore this procedurally generated dungeon. And even there was a downtime, like things could happen in the city, like you might be prepping in the city, and it, depending on how many days you took, or if you wanted to hire henchmen, there were charts for that stuff. It was to me pretty innovative at the time, for sure.
Yeah, that was a while ago.
People are doing it. Yeah, it's an older product, but I think at the time, not anyone was really doing exactly that. So it was pretty clever.
So how did you make the connection back to whatever campaign you were playing?
You don't have to, right? You just play whatever you want. It's just something to do. Or were you playing it back to the campaign?
We were, as a matter of fact, because the way that campaign, the way Stonehell I had set up, the way I've always run it is it was from a procedurally, you started in a procedurally generated city that I used the Ultimate Toolbox for, called Sorcerer Crest, and then you would take a short journey over to Stonehell. If players decided we didn't have enough players that they wanted to go to Stonehell, then the town had the conceit that there was the big quote unquote old town that was available, and you could go in there and explore, find an entrance into the Undercity, and then boom, break out the book. Those players could explore, and the conceit was the same. At the end of the night, they would come back up. Whatever treasure they found, they got experience. So it was a neat little way to have a diversion, as long as you had some sort of area near the mega dungeon or whatever other area you're running, that players could ostensibly find a quote-unquote random entrance into the Undercity. And having a ruined area in a otherwise large city is a great idea for that, because they don't ever have to use the same one twice, so you don't have to worry about them going into the same location and having to have the same map. The conceit is they're always finding a different entrance.
Not a ton of, and then do you like mark that entrance and like keep it, or no, it's just gone?
Yeah,
It's
the
lost
idea
or
is
something.
yeah, it's just one of those. It's the same conceit you put in any campaign, where you have certain things that you know how they work. They know once they've gone in that entrance, because they may not play they may not go into the Undercity again for months, because it's kind of a diversion is the way I used it. You just forget about that entrance, or that the old city is unstable because of wizard magic gone awry, and so the entrance has changed. Whatever you want to use as a conceit. But I didn't want to keep track of that stuff, so there was a unspoken reason that you didn't worry about going into the same entrance and exploring that area again. If you wanted to, you could. I guess if someone kept the map, that would that's really on the GM how they want to use it. And I used it as a literal ad hoc night tool. And when we were done with it, we were done.
What about like, have you guys ever done war stories or anything like that before? Like you use the same characters in a different system in a game very similar to what you're playing, but it's kind of like different. Like you just have, maybe instead of this, we would take these characters and use like Tales of the Valiant or something and do something similar just to see, or like some characters you ran into before. Like you guys played the two other guys that were Tenju's buddies before, looking somewhere else to do something just for that night. That way it actually adds to the backstory of the campaign that's going on, and it gives you something fun to do at the same time.
Jonathan Davis just mentioned in chat that would like some impressions of the Tales of Argosa so far and how we're digging it. I think you might have had planned anyway.
I did. That was really what I wanted to do to check in wise. I think that's a good question. Way to read it. Do you want to go first, Jose, or do you want Robert to?
Either one. Robert, you go ahead. I've been yapping a lot.
I mean, I'm enjoying it. I'm biased, I think, in that regard, because I've been playing it a bunch with Jason. I have the previous, the deluxe edition from Low Fantasy Gaming. I'm a fan of the hybrid systems, doing a mix of old school and new school systems. I'm a big fan of Five Torches Deep, and so that one's a very skimpy system, whereas this one's a fully fleshed out system. So I'm enjoying it. I really like the setting coupled with the system, and I'm a big fan. I've played some direct IP games like the Conan 2D20 system, and obviously, I'm a big Robert E. Howard and Conan fan, but I think I've come to the conclusion that I'm not a huge fan of RPGs set in specific IP. I tend to think that maybe the best way to go is some sort of amalgamation of different sources rather than a single source. And so Hyperborea, that mixes Clark Ashton Smith, Robert E. Howard, and H.P. Lovecraft is a good way to go, right? And then this is another great system, Tales of Argosa, mixing various sorts of sword and sorcery sources that pull that sort of together, or more generically. And that goes back to D&D's origin, right? Because it was also an amalgamation of different sources. So I'm not sold now on specific IP RPGs. Haven't played one yet that I've been terribly satisfied with.
Like you never played WEG Star Wars back in the day, or you just mean
I
like
never
in the
played that
past
one.
5 years, or?
Well, back in the day, I played Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. I played Star Frontiers. I did play James Bond, so that was a specific IP. And I played Doctor Who, the facet Doctor Who, so that was also a specific IP. But Doctor Who, like itself, is so specific, so I don't know what amalgamation you can make with that. A spy game you could clearly do, where you could use various sources. It doesn't have to be James Bond, but we played those. So those were so much less played than D&D and then Star Frontiers. And I know there's been a lot of debate and discussion about TSR creating Star Frontiers, and they decided to do their own world rather than buying the rights to Star Wars back in the day. And why would they do that? Why not go with Star Wars? Nobody else was doing it at the time. I tend to think that Star Frontiers was the better way to go.
Got James Richards in the chat.
What's up, James? How you doing, buddy? What's he up to? What do you think about that? What he had to say there, Jose?
Well, first of all, I too like the Five Torches deep you mentioned. That's that really trimmed down OSR flavored 5e game. At one point, I never ran it, but at one point I liked it enough to own it. So that's a good system. I like that as well. Obviously, I'm a huge fan of Hyperborea. I'm waiting eagerly on the new Kickstarter books. I've been running Hyperborea, trying to run it every Monday. It's more like every second or third Monday right now, but I'm enjoying it. I really like the system. I too am not a huge fan of IPs that are specific to another property. I don't want a Conan specific world. I want a Conan flavored world, much like you said. And I really like the amalgam of worlds, as you mentioned, where you get some of that Barrier Peaks sci-fi flavor mixed in with your sword and sorcery, and maybe some sword and sandal. There could be a Lemuria type prehistoric world somewhere. Kind of mix it all in and make it generic. But specifically for Tales of Argosa, I like it. I like this edition specifically. I did not own the deluxe edition that you mentioned. I owned the original 2016 edition, and we were talking about it earlier. I'm somewhat hypocritical in my criticisms of the game, because one of my criticisms of the early game was the unique feature, wherein in the early edition of the game, the idea was you come up with your own feature, pull it from another game, another system, and work it out with the DM. And that was it. That's all they told you in the very first edition of the game. And someone asked about the Hyperborea game. I'll mention that here in a minute as well. And Jason's in that game, so he can give you some insight into that one as well. Yeah, I think it's very cool. It's super awesome. But that first edition of Low Fantasy Gaming, it never gave any more examples of unique features. And I am the kind of DM that I am not a creator really. Jason, and I don't know, Bert, if you're a creator as well, but I know Jason is a creator. He creates all his own stuff. I am not. I am more a consumer. I want to take someone's world and ideas and then run them and bring them to life, kind of. I'm more of a, you know me. Anyways,
I do, but not everybody else does. So this is great.
I'm a little bit more of a actor than a creator. I would rather bring to life someone's ideas. So that was a sticking point for me. But this game has, as Bert helpfully mentioned earlier, by counting them individually for me, like 40 or 41 examples of unique features. So it gives the players a lot of choice. I don't have to come up with anything. And if I do have to come up with something, I have a lot of examples to kind of gauge what fits into the system and what fits into the kind of an implied world that Tales of Argosa has, which I also like. But I'm also somewhat hypocritical. As I just thought about one of the other features I like about this game is the exploit system. The exploit system allows you to do minor exploits and major exploits depending on how. Oh, hey, look at this! We've got Phoenix Mark in Twitch and Longshot.
What's up, guys?
But the exploit system is cool because it allows you to kind of come up with neat little effects in game, like knocking, disarming somebody maybe, or knocking them down, or maybe just pushing them back a bit. And that I like the kind of freedom that kind of gives me to come up with ideas that are situational. So that situational stuff I'm okay with, but the stuff that is really pertinent to the character and pertinent to the system, I'd rather have laid out for me. But other than that, I think the system is a lot of fun. I like the meld of the old school and the new school, like you mentioned, and I like a lot of the little features that it has. Sorcery being a little dangerous fits that situation, the genre, and things like that. So yeah, cool system. I'm enjoying it a lot. It's winning me over. Way better, way more. He's done a great job in the new additions, really adding value for me at least.
Holy cow, that was a lot. Robert, you got anything to add?
Not a lot. I mean, I think now with Tales of Argosa, the magic is a little bit more dangerous than it was before. Is that right? Would you say that's correct? I haven't played as caster, but
I don't know. It's always kind of had that same feel, I think, where it's gritty, supposed to be, but I mean, you do have a death save that you could be affected by, but I think that higher levels are supposed to be broader as opposed to like thicker, like your character grows out as opposed to up, because you don't get a ton of hit points, your AC doesn't change a lot, none of that really happens, you just get more abilities.
Now, I can't remember in Deluxe were there level-specific spells, whereas now it's not, or was it the same?
There were level specific, but now you have one spell that you can pump up with more, what do you call it, spell slots, right? Mm-hmm. You can cast the spell at a higher level, which I think might be an interesting thing. We haven't really got to it. That was one of the things that we wanted to do with this game, but everyone's afraid to play a wizard. I should comment, though.
Untrue. That's untrue, Mr. Hobbs. I originally asked to play a wizard. I always want to play a wizard in every system.
I would never stop you from playing a magic user. You can play one.
You said currently you would prefer us to play you named out 4, like because of the play test, you named out 4 classes.
Oh, I think
I picked one of the 4 classes, and then you killed my bard Iris. Yeah, and everyone loves Fenton. Fenton this, Fenton that. What about Iris? Iris was there. Iris had a backstory. Iris spent time in the mines. It affected his body and his mind. No one cared about Iris. He's just dead in the swamp. Anyways,
I was going to celebrate Iris's contributions to the campaign too, but I wanted you to be the one that did that. Didn't need to come from me.
So Jose, you haven't had the opportunity. You played in season 2 and season 3, but Robert has been in I think every session. Do you think anything has changed when we first started playing Tales of Argosa to now that you like or dislike?
Nothing that comes to mind. I mean, I like that we're playing different parts of the world too, so that's pretty fun to learn more of the Midlands, which I don't. I mean, I have it. I've started to read it, and I've never gotten through it. It's the same thing we've talked about. PDFs, I just have a hard time sitting down and reading straight through. It's great reference documents, but it's hard for me to read through. But I've really enjoyed that element of playing at different parts of this world.
So we should say they're saying like an implied setting and all that. I mean, true Pickpocket Press fans know that the Midlands is a campaign setting that existed, I think before Low Fantasy Gaming did, maybe. But that's what they're tapping into. When I say they, I mean Steve and Pickpocket Press, when they called the new system Tales of Argosa. And the Midlands box set is supposed to be the next Kickstarter in 2025, where I'm sure we'll see Fenton and Iris as bards, lurking about in the trackless moors. If not in the adventure that I write, they can be corpses that people find, and it'll be, you guys will see it, like the 3 people who watch those episodes, and you guys will be like, oh, this is the greatest thing ever in an adventure. Everyone else will be like, this was stupid. I'm not using this in my game.
There'll be the epic ballad of Fenton the Brave, and the next to the last verse will be, and Iris was there too, we think.
There was some guy named I or something like that.
Yeah, or they'll spell it wrong.
Or something, yeah.
All right. I think, and then further, his blood was used to test an altar, and it turned out not to do anything whatsoever.
You keep saying that, but it's not true, dude. You guys were blasted with magical energy.
I guess so.
All right, so we got Phoenix Mark in the chat and Twitch, who I am familiar with from the Pickpocket Press Discord. So thanks for flying through, man. It looks like it's your first time chat. Unfortunately, we don't necessarily have a game. I have a little thing set up if Jose wanted to. What level is your barbarian, Robert? Do you remember?
I don't remember. I'd have to go to the other
you can,
20, which
you can
I'm
do
not
that.
I didn't know if you wanted me to stay on
While
this.
you're doing that, I'll mention Phoenix Marks agreed with me that unique features can be difficult if you don't want to kind of adjudicate that. I really like the fact that there's choices now. I think that's any kind of feature like that. I prefer to have choices. It's kind of my sticking point with Barbarians of Lemuria. I love Barbarians of Lemuria, but the magic system is a little too open-ended for me. It's a sticking point.
Anything that he has to create, he doesn't like.
That is exactly right.
He wants to pick it from a list. He's like, I mean,
or just have a little bit more of a framework, just a little more framework.
I don't know if we have to retract your Grognard card for that stuff, Jose. I don't know.
I'm rough as a grog. I mean, I don't know. War gamers love rules. Doesn't that qualify you as a grognard?
I mean, if we were talking about it, did you
say as hell.
Did you say suck a dick?
No. Never say that.
All right.
And then Jonathan Davis. Wait, before you keep going. Jonathan Davis said, "Does your Hyperborea character campaign in my campaign have a funny voice?" Yes. He doesn't always do it, but it does have a. I don't know if "funny" is the word I would use, but there is a voice for sure. And the fact that you're running Call of Cthulhu is awesome. I have that the classic box set. It's awesome.
So I don't know if you remember, but 2 years ago at NTX, Jonathan Davis was there. We used a bunch of his miniatures when we were playing some games.
Nice.
Jose, I don't know. He didn't make it this year, but
I met a lot of cool people, so it's rough to keep. And I'm super bad at it.
Yeah, for sure. All right, what's Phoenix Mark? What else is he saying here? Did you see Jose?
He is a creator, but making balanced power choices is not a strong point. So yeah, he's comfortable creating like the world, but like balancing things. Also, I'm bad at all of it, so at least you can handle the world creation and maps and story. That's why Savage Worlds was great. There were plenty of rules for everything, and plot point campaigns. It was like 50 little mini adventures. It was glorious. So yeah, I'm the same as you, but even further along the path of yes.
Awesome. I pretty much always write my own stuff. But I mean, I have used some of the adventure paths from Pickpocket Press because they're kind of written in a way that, for me, they're easy to use. Whenever I'm running something that I have gotten from someone else, I have this weird tendency or need to try to run it like they expected it to be, as opposed to just going crazy like I would with my own stuff.
So that means you don't like using other people's adventures or stuff like that?
Usually, yeah. So that's why I pretty much don't. Unless I'm like tweaking them like for a different genre or something. Like running an old TSR module and reskinning it for a Western game or a Weird West game somehow or something. or like in a post-apocalyptic game or something like that. There's like I've done this a few times when I was trying to run We Deal in Lead, so I'm using it as a post-apocalyptic, but shifting those different stories and using them in that genre as opposed to the genre they were originally written for. That way I don't feel like I have to follow anything, because obviously it wasn't written for that genre anyway. So, all right. Does that cover that? Oh, go ahead.
I would like to counter what drives you to use a system written for Westerns for post-apocalyptic instead of one of the many post-apocalyptic systems? And then
well, we
you're
deal
going to
in
recreate it. Well, I mean, and then part B of that is, if you're going to recreate did you just like pieces of those adventures, or did you just want something there? Because if you're going to recreate it anyways, did you just want something to start from?
So
the idea?
We Deal in Lead is actually it is kind of based on an IP. It's based on The Dark Tower by Stephen King. So it is already kind of post-apocalyptic Western. You see what I'm saying? So it already is post-apocalyptic Western.
I got you. So you just leave out kind of the Western piece of it.
Well, but they actually are kind of Westerny the way they act, because they have they're based on the Knights of the Round Table, but instead of it being fantasy, it's Western. If that makes any sense. It's a mix. It's post-apocalyptic because they're science stuff. Anyone who's pretty familiar with the Dark Tower or the Gunslinger would kind of get that in that situation. I like to be inspired by things, because, like I say, otherwise I hold to them too tightly, I think. So what's all right, we got Phoenix Mark out here talking about he uses Scabbard for his campaign info, also the info, Obsidian Portal. Yeah, man, he sounds like he's like doing some hard work. You should be streaming some games, Phoenix Mark. Let's go, buddy.
Obsidian Portal, that was a fun system. I could say back in the day, because it's been around a long time.
People still use that, right?
I think that's when Eric Hoffman, creator of Zadabad and Wet Wired and other systems, I think he ran that Shadowrun campaign for us back in the day, using Obsidian Portal. We all played probably 10 years ago now, right? Or almost 10 years ago.
Maybe more.
Obsidian Portal was a place to record your campaign stuff.
Yeah, I don't know what Jose's talking about.
It is, yeah. He
no system, though. Yeah, he had all of his information in there.
Yeah, there's all campaign information in there, like all the campaign details. And
yeah.
But I think people abandoned it for just if they were going to do anything like that and have it recorded in some sort of web space, it would be just a blog, right?
Oh, I mean, there's actual lots of things. What's the one that Mike Shea, the lazy GM, pushes? He pushes one that does a lot of them that Gaming NBS was using. Sean was for one of his games. I don't know. All right, do you guys have anything to say about this particular campaign, this episode 3? Or, I mean, 2 and 3 together, because they're fairly similar, I guess. Do you guys have any thoughts about where that is? Yeah, season 2 and 3 of the actual Tales of Argosa campaign itself. Is there anything in there that you really like? Is there something that you wish there'd be more of? What, you guys got any thoughts about that?
I'm still getting I'm still trying to get acclimated to the setting. I jumped in, I don't know if it was the middle of season 2 or maybe near the end. So I'm not super familiar with. I'm not familiar with the setting at all, other than what I've learned from your sessions. So I don't really know much about the setting, and I'm still learning about the characters and the ideas and what we're supposed to be doing. So I've been letting the other players lead that, to be honest, while I kind of learn more. Does the book have information about this particular campaign setting, or is this all your stuff?
This is all mostly the Midlands stuff.
Okay.
So this is mostly the majority is based off of this, the Midlands. those are your cultures and like the main map. But I've narrowed way in for both of the games, and then like anything you see onto this, other than like the main names of the cultures or anything like that, is all stuff that I created within that tapestry, because it's detailed just enough, but it's not too detailed where it's difficult to slide things in. Like Forgotten Realms or even Greyhawk, sometimes I can find it difficult to slip into that. Maybe it's the whole IP thing that you guys were talking about.
That also is that whole lore question, right? When you
Yeah,
have
what's actual canon?
huge
What isn't?
lore. Yeah.
Do you have to go to the bathroom?
No, he's pointing to all the stuff behind him.
Oh.
I'm
all the-
pointing to Greyhawk and Forgotten Realms. I feel differently. I love having it all there.
Why does raising a finger in the air indicate that he wants to go to the bathroom?
I gotta go number 1.
I gotta go number 1, teacher.
If I go 4 or 5, it's a super emergency. That's like 2 2s and a 1, which is not good.
All right, what was that other thing we were going to talk about, Jose? You said that I was going to bring up later and forgot.
Wait, you didn't ask me.
Sorry, FOMO much?
Some of the earlier sessions you used to run, I don't know if that was the 2-person games, but you were adapting the stories from old Conan comics. Whatever happened to that?
That's the vignettes, man. I mean,
That's the vignettes. Okay.
Yeah, those are the vignettes because until I wanted to be able to do pickup games like this situation where the vignettes would be there. Anyone could have a character, and they could they don't have to be chronologically in order. They're just like the old Conan stories where you have a setup and then you just play, and then we can fit them in later in to see what the chronological order actually is.
You actually covered what I mentioned earlier. He was asking about us giving the impressions of Tales of Argosa. And how we're liking it.
Wow. For me, this is a really interesting question and thought process, but and maybe you guys haven't looked. Have you guys looked at what do you guys think about the character sheets? Do you think there's too much, not enough, or just the right amount of information on the character sheet when you're doing character generation in Tales of Argosa? Go ahead, Jose.
Honestly, I don't remember what the character sheet looks like. I'm going to take a look at it. Trying to find a look at it.
What about you, Robert?
I don't have any issues with it. I think it's the right amount. The only thing that needs to be updated, of course, is for Tales of Argosa, the initiative.
No. I don't mean the character sheet on Roll20. I mean just in general on the character sheet. Because there's a lot of stuff on there. You got skills, you got abilities, you got spells, you got just character. Each class has their own abilities. If you compare that to, say, OSE or Barbarians of Lemuria or, any given game, what do you feel? How do you feel about what is given to the character? Because there's a lot of things in the game that are very useful for someone who's got some mastery of this specific system. Very much like the unique features or exploits or any of the various capabilities that you might have for doing things. How do you feel that the character sheet represents that?
Well, I mean, like I mentioned with the hybrid system, I mean, it's going to have those, especially the way this is set up with those features. I know that can be somewhat of a complaint for some people because that gets to that question of that sort of push button mechanic sort of stuff. But I mean, I don't have a problem with it. I mean, it doesn't seem to be overwhelming or not comprehensible.
Jose, do you have any thoughts?
Yeah, I think it's somewhat. I mean, the character sheet is what it is, but I think it speaks somewhat to the system. To me, I like a lot of the features of the system, but it also requires someone to really know the system or players to invest time into really filling out that sheet because there's there's extra bells and whistles on the classes.
Mm-hmm.
So they really have to know what's going on with their class, or you're going to get like analysis paralysis, or you're going to get player come latelys who don't look at their sheet until it's their turn and have to figure out from among their options what they're going to do. So I think some of us have been like some of us play 5e here and there, and you get spoiled with the automation of a D&D Beyond, where your abilities are explained and the automation is there. And then you get a game like this that kind of brings that modern sensibility in, but you don't have digital support for it, so you have to be invested in the rule set then and know your character and know the rules of the system to really be effective. So the sheet does what it can. It's up to the players, I think, to know what their class can do and put enough on the sheet to find it, at least the page number.
Yeah, I don't feel like it's too bad. I've heard people say it feels a little kludgy with all the little bits and bobs, but to me, I mean, after 2 or 3 sessions, if you were playing on a weekly basis, I think you could grab it pretty easy. And that leads me to, like, I usually, when I'm looking at new game systems, I found recently, in the past 5 years maybe, like I wanted to play a different game. This was 5 years ago, say. And I was like, oh, we should try Castles and Crusades. Everyone talks about how Castles and Crusades is like almost 3rd edition, but it's got some 5e stuff. It's like kind of that newest version that's like a modern D&D. And I liked it until I tried to run the game, and I opened up the monster section, and I saw the massive list for the monster stats. So do you ever look as a GM to see, okay, what do you need to know about a monster to run an encounter, and how big are those statistics? How much is just kind of rando information that helps, flesh it out, and how much is actual stuff that you have to know? So if you're writing up your own statistics, how much, because I do that, obviously, Jose, you don't like doing that. So this is interesting, and maybe Robert will have a different idea, or if someone in the chat does, go ahead and speak up. But I was really disappointed in how much information I need to have for monsters in Castles and Crusades. So applying that to Tales of Argosa, even if you guys have looked at the monster stats, I don't know if you have, do you feel like it's too much, just the right amount, or do you have any thoughts on that specifically?
I haven't looked at it enough, but I do like the specific reactions is new, right? Isn't that new for this edition? So I think that's super cool, right? Because that helps a lot. That gives you a lot. I think that's one of the big things that people find. Maybe it's if they're, they haven't GM'd enough, or they don't have a resource to go to. That can be a thing that they feel like is lacking from a game like BX or OSE, that they have a generic reaction table and they're not sure how to respond to that with different encounters and things of that nature. So I think that's pretty cool, but I haven't really looked at it close enough because I haven't run Tales of Argosa or LFG myself.
So there's a couple OSE third-party books that are doing monsters that way, like Monster Overhaul, I believe, has its own reaction rolls, and so the Monster Overhaul from Gus L, right? Goblin Punch, isn't that who that's from? Or is it Skirples? Yes, I don't remember.
I think it's Skirples.
Skirples, I do think
so.
Is correct after I said that. I think it's Skirples as well. Whereas on the reaction roll, instead of it just being that rando one on, and maybe they don't even have it in here. I know that Mace has it, and then I also know that Gary's Appendix. Mace is by James. I can't think of his name right now for some reason. I feel terrible. Sorry, James. He goes by initials too. Anyway, it's Mace, and it shows reaction rolls very similar to this. So every creature has their own reaction rolls. So you can just quickly roll on that to see how they may interact specifically for that monster. So more aggressive monsters are going to be happy to see you, or be cooperative, or be cautious. Less than, say, like an animal, like a sparrow or something. And then he also has that added bit that he's applying with his own dice that he calls Consulting the Bones, where it even adds some other stuff like what they're doing, they're eating, or, searching or looking around, which Jose and I have talked a lot with Hoffman when we talk about our random encounter tables that the people who like to create would actually create for for their own games in a hex crawl type of situation.
The Mace J.E. Shields.
J.E. Shields, that's it. Could not think of his name for some reason. Sorry, James.
Outrageous.
Outrageous. There it is, Jose. Bringing it back, buddy. All right, I love it. All right.
Is this what you're known for? Saying outrageous?
At one point.
Yeah.
At one point. So if they people ask, do you want to say anything about like what your Hyperborea campaign is?
Yeah, I'm doing a module crawl. Basically, I've got like the dozen or so Hyperborea modules that have come out for second edition and then third edition. He's been putting out third edition modules. They're all essentially the same. So, running a module crawl. We're currently in, I think, the second one I've run, Ghost Ship of the Desert Dunes, and you guys you're nearing the end. They've just made it to the ship in the desert, and they're about to start exploring. Then I'm gonna take them a little bit further off because these guys all are creators, so they want to try to. They're constantly trying to jump off the rails, which in a module crawl is rough. So I think the module crawl, I'm gonna loosen that up a bit and just see what happens on the next module. What happens when I knock down all the invisible walls, trying to keep them on the module crawl, and just let them do what they're going to do. Because they're always trying to jump over the fence and head towards the mountain on the horizon. I want to let them do it and see where we end up.
What? We don't do any of that. That's crazy.
You do.
Talk.
You guys are always pushing. They are ball busters. You have to be really on your toes when you run for some of them. So,
That's
but it's
the other
fun. The system is great.
Who are the other players? If you can say.
Yeah. The other players, it's me as the GM, and then Hobbs, Paul, Bird. Who else is playing in that game?
Cody
Cody is playing.
Cody Mazza. Yeah, and that's about it, really.
Yeah, it's a really tight game because I wanted to just see, just try some of the modules and see how it runs. It's pretty interesting. It's a fun game. I'm gonna try to run more of it. I want to run as soon as the new modules. I get the print modules. I'm gonna run those. I could run them now, but I haven't read them completely because I'm really excited to run those as well. I just want to try all the modules since I have sitting on the shelf for so long. It's a good system. I think it's my favorite old OSR style system.
Is there a favorite module so far that you played?
We've only run the two. This one is fun.
We did a couple adventures from the book, right? From the main book. Is that what? Rats in the Walls. Rats in the Walls, which is an original. But that has a bunch of different adventures in it, right? The new version.
Yeah, we ran all three from that. Rats in the Walls and Other Things.
Yeah, there were 3 adventures in that adventure, and we did all of those.
Yeah, and then we went directly into Ghost Ship.
Yeah.
2E had an adventure in it. He dropped that from the 3E.
The swamp, the swamp witch of Mog or something.
Moss Hag of Lug.
I was so close.
Swamp Gate.
I was so close.
Swamp Gate is a great town. That's worth pulling out a second edition and using any time because it's a really nice town that you can use.
I just played Hyperborea with Zach Pierce, who runs a lot of Hyperborea at cons for Telanian, and we play tested the new version of Hyperborea for Foundry. And so that is looking really good for, like, sometimes it sucks to play VTTs when your character sheet is a pain in the ass, because if you're used to playing games online, you're used to being able to just keep everything on that or maybe a Google Doc or something. But like if it's not easy, then it's like us with the initiative roll. We're like, oh shit, how do you do that again? There's not a button, blah, blah, blah. So that Foundry module, it looks pretty good. So if you're waiting to run your Hyperborea campaigns, then it's right on the horizon. Same thing with Foundry for Tales of Argosa. I know Dab is who did it for Low Fantasy Gaming Deluxe. So hopefully that'll be there. And I know Steve said he's looking for someone to write a like a character sheet and that sort of thing for Hyperborea in Roll20 as well. I don't know if it's really going to be covered in any other VTTs, but I do know that's on the horizon, so that's pretty sweet.
For Tales of Argosa, you mean?
Yes, for Tales. So
you
both
said
games.
Hyperborea. Yeah. Oh, okay.
Yeah. All right.
Is Zach doing the one for Foundry? Did he write it?
No.
No, I didn't know if he wrote it.
No, he just wrote some game for us, and I played my Flandag the Fabulous wizard, which is just Gandalf backwards, of course.
That doesn't fit with Hyperborea.
What?
You gotta take that Tolkien stuff out of here.
I'm not saying the character was Gandalf, just I used the name backwards. He's like evil Gandalf. He only had a goatee, man, with a twirly mustache.
What is this? What does he say? What is his most common sayings?
Fuck New Orleans. No, I don't know. I can't think of anything. I didn't have a name. I didn't have a voice for him or anything. It was only a little 2-hour mess around. It's not like Khan, my character in Jose's Hyperborea game. I took Conan's father as his name, but he's a big fat guy with big hoop earrings in his ears. And a super stud, without question.
So here's a question for Jose about running the module crawl. Do you make any attempt to try to bridge? I know you said you only did the 2. Bridge the adventures, or do you just go, here, we're starting now with this next one?
Yeah,
He
because
bridged himself. Oh yeah.
yeah, I bridged him. It was basically the bridge wasn't too difficult because they end in a place in the one module, and then I had someone approach them about some a job that was available that someone was paying really well for, which is the precept of the next module. So they jumped on it anyway. They didn't have a plan at that point, but at that point they as soon as that happens, they're like the first modules, they're like, well, what if we get there via the sewers? And I kind of flubbed up how the sewer ran. In retrospect, I should have just let that work because it was a good idea, but they're like, let's go through the sewers. Can we go through the roofs? Can we kill them and take their ship? So it's constantly like whatever you're giving to them, they're trying to break it. It's like they're
not trying to break it.
You ever knew one of those kids where you hand them a toy and the first thing they do is fling it on the floor to see if it shatters? That's their gaming style. And there's like 4 of them that, well, really it's just like 3 of them that like to play that way sometimes. It's fun.
I like if we find something that has a ritual to summon a demon and we find a pentagram, I'm going to be like, let's summon the demon.
Yep. Which actually, they kind of did that actually in one of the modules. Yeah, they let the titular monster loose, and I've been describing what it's doing as they get back to Chromarium, because it got loose. So now they've heard, oh, this monster smashed through and stole this from the guy that hired him. It's the Lamia, if you know the Lamia's heart, and the Brazen Bull module from the first one. They let that thing go, and so it's full power and running around in old Chromarium right now. Maybe later on, since we're off the rails, it'll come back and pay him a visit.
Well, that's why we're staying up in the desert, man.
Yeah, for now. Yeah, and if the end of this one, talking about going off the rails, the end of this module gives you an incredible way to go off the rails. So we'll see where that goes.
Oh, Spelljammer.
How you guys do it? It's not really spelled. Kind of. You'll see. It's cool. Yeah.
Well, that flying Viking ship had to get there somehow, man. No spoilers. Yeah. No spoilers. Although those are like 10-year-old modules now, aren't they?
Some of them are. Yeah.
I don't think it's
not
that
all
old.
of them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because the system's been around for a while. I have every.
Yeah, I got the first edition too. I think Hobbs does too.
Cool. Great box set.
I do. My box set is right down here. No one can see it, but it's right next to the other. All three editions of Hyperborea are down there.
Over there, and then on the top shelf.
So when I was getting back into RPGs, back in like 2014, 2015, I'd heard about Hyperborea from an article on Blackgate, which is a online magazine. And then I didn't think I was gonna ever play it, but I was just like, oh, it sounds cool. I'm gonna buy it. And then I ordered it, and Jeff wrote a really nice little comment to his signing of the first edition. So that was nice.
To you?
It's cool.
To me, yeah, he was just thanking me for ordering it, out of the blue. This is before he is as famous as he is today, the big wig in the RPG industry that he is today. he was somewhat there, but not quite as far there. And then had I known back then, years later, I would play with him in a game at Game Hall.
Had you known
Who
what?
knew? Who knew that would be the trajectory that would happen? I would order that game, not ever expecting to play it, just to read it, get this friendly note from him. Years later, I get to play with him at Game Hall.
So did you find out what level Vignal is?
3rd.
How fast can you make a character, Jose? Let's see. This will be the new test. How quickly? But that's Tales of That's not Tales of Argosa. That's Low Fantasy Gaming, right?
That was Low Fantasy Gaming, I think. Yeah.
Oh yeah. I don't know if we can split the. We can split the stream like that. I don't know.
Sometimes that happens in the morning.
Only after you eat too much sugar.
Like, I guess I'm wipe up.
Time to clean up. My wife's yelling at me again. But I do have an idea that has come from a Conan comic. Are either of you guys reading the new Conan comics from Titan?
Yep.
Savage Sword.
That one too. Yep.
Jose, you don't read comics at all?
I don't consume any media. Just kidding. No, but I'm not reading the comics.
Oh shit.
I'm actually signed up to play at Game Hall this year in Jim Zub's. He's running an AD&D Through the Gauntlet, if that's what it's called. But it comes from when he was writing for Marvel with the recent Conan run, and so it's an adventure based on his Conan comic.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
That reminds me, I was going to ask you guys another question, but I lost it. Oh, did you guys see Reaver is kickstarting right now? Which is,
yeah, I saw it. I haven't looked at it closely though.
Which is Raven God Games, Sword and Sorcery. I play tested it a few times. Raven God Games is the guy. His name is Joseph something. I can't think what his last name is, but he wrote Eldritch Tales, which is kind of a BXE type of Call of Cthulhu type of game. So this is for the people at home. Oh yeah, Joe Salvador.
That's the wrong camera.
I'm showing the people at home, brother. Right. And now I'll show you guys.
I gotta look over there.
So this is Raven God Games Eldritch Tales, which is a very nice book. It's beautiful. And I know that Reaver had 10 times the play testing that this did. So it kind of uses a dice chain and a few other mechanics that people are familiar with but haven't ever been used together, which is kind of the same sort of review that I would probably give Tales of Argosa.
Is that the one that you that uses the dice chain where it includes the D14 and the D16?
I don't know.
If it is, total turn off. I gotta tell you.
In the trash it goes.
Yeah, I don't like the dice chain mechanics that use arbitrary dice in the middle.
It doesn't.
I'm not a huge fan of that.
Are you thinking of DCC?
Yeah, DCC.
No, I think if you, because we chat online sometimes, and I think you may have linked it, and I read some of the synopsis of the rules, and it mentioned the dice chain. And when I looked at the dice chain, it was like D3, D4, D5, D6, D8, D10, D12, D14, D16, D20.
I don't think so. I think it might just be like the Savage Worlds dice chain, but I don't know for sure.
If it's the Savage Worlds dice chain, it's more palatable. If it's the goofy dice chain, then
Why do you hate fun, Jose?
I like fun. I like structured fun. I don't need
No creativity from players on
none of this fancy
GMs.
schmancy
No,
fictional dice.
more
Okay?
toys.
I don't want a supercomputer that has to generate the model to represent my die. They don't need to have to come up with a new shape to represent my E13 because of my dice chain. That's all I'm saying.
So,
You pulled that out of me, Hobbs.
So do you like DCC or not?
I liked DCC at one point. To me it's way too heavy for me now because it's just charts everywhere. You know what I mean? So it's like charts and rolls for everything. You know, how strong is your piss stream? Let's roll a D30. So
Jeez
I would just
Louise.
rather, yeah, and just so many
Trigger
rules.
warnings for urinary tract disease here. Or infection, I mean.
I would rather have less charts. That's all, and less effects. Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of the dice chain. Even though I own the dice, I have a set of that. You know, the Impact Kickstarter that came out years ago. But I just don't like the chain.
All right, so if you don't like the idea of the Reaver Kickstarter, what's a Kickstarter that's out there that you're interested in? If any. There doesn't have to be one, and that's okay.
I'm not looking at any right now, to be honest. Not anything seriously. So I can't help you there. I'm waiting on my Tales of Argosa to come in and print.
That's your number one. That's nice. I like that. What about you, Jose?
I'm gonna buy a copy of Tales of Argosa, at least the PDF when it comes out, because I want that. I too am not really looking at any Kickstarters at the moment. I have some I'm waiting to come in, but the only one I sort of looked at was Barbarians Lemuria. But I already complained about that one earlier, so you already know my misgivings with that system.
Do you guys
I
remember
don't
this?
think they've updated it.
You remember this? No? You do, though, Robert? You remember Yoon Suin?
I do remember the name. Who put that out? Is that the same people that did... I can't remember. This is a setting, isn't it?
It's kind of a setting, but it's also a different ways to use the book. It's also got like its own character generation and stuff. Tons of random tables for background, and it's a kind of a sort of a more Eastern feel.
Right,
with its own setting and some rules, and it's got some different character classes and races, and gets into social groups and factions and how they interact with each other in the Yellow City version. Go ahead.
This isn't one of the art house RPGs.
Does this look like an art house book?
I don't know.
It is kind of the weird. This is McGrogan, who I'm pretty sure did Carcosa.
Oh, no, that's not the one I was thinking of then.
I think.
There was like one that was like really gonzo, desert.
Are you thinking of UV Ultraviolet Grasslands
That's the one I'm thinking of, yeah.
by Luca Reyes?
Yes. And is that one kind of art house? It's like very fancy, like...
It's nice. Depends on who you ask. I mean...
Layout. Yeah.
Super nice.
Kickstarter coming out.
He's got a second edition of UVG, that's coming out right now.
No. He's got another Kickstarter for like some sort of city set or something, and it's a box set.
Isn't it the Black City for UVG?
I don't know.
There's a box set with multiple adventures. It was kind of, I think Exalted Funeral really helped push that concept. But what about Fever Swamp by Daniel Sell? Second edition of that is also coming out. Did you guys ever play that or look at that?
I heard about it. And
Have the PDF. It's pretty cool. I ran it though. But I like it.
I feel like I just backed something else. Reaver, for sure I backed because Salvador is an awesome dude. And I would share that and try to get anybody to check it out. I would like to play Barbarians of Lemuria. I've never played that. Oh, here, this is what my other question was going to be. We'll wrap it up here. So this is piggybacking off of my boy Sean P. Kelly. I want to see what you guys think. So in the year 2030, when I'm rich, I'm going to donate. What are you laughing about, Robert? He's already laughing.
it's-
Like, what the fuck,
It's
dude?
fantasy, I guess so. Go ahead, fantasy.
Right.
Talk about
in,
fantasy.
in Lake Geneva, I'm going to buy a building and make the tabletop RPG Hall of Fame.
You
What
just posted this, didn't you? Somewhere?
I shared something, yeah.
Yeah.
So what are the when you first come into the Hall of Fame, what are the core top 5 games that are in your Hall of Fame? So
I got to come up with 5?
yeah,
5's a lot.
So is Dungeons and Dragons a single game, or do you need additions?
I think that's up to you. I think you, however you want to do your, because I mean Dungeons and Dragons could kind of have its own wing, probably, right? Where
Yeah.
all the editions might be there, and then they would talk about them, except just not 4th.
I do think the editions have a different feel, right, and play very differently.
Yeah, but
So
we're
at least
talking Hall of Fame out of all the tabletop role-playing games in
At
existence.
least Basic and AD&D would be represented.
But what's basic? There's 4 basics.
I know, but I'm lumping that as just a generic
Well,
basic.
that's not even an edition then. Then why would AD&D get its own if basic is going to be 4 different editions?
Yeah, but AD&D could represent 2E as well.
Well, 2E is
All right.
the only one worth
All right.
representing.
Wiley, mute Robert. All right, you Jose, you're up.
I would say I would go pretty generic, and my Hall of Fame is going to be the classics. I'm not gonna. That's how I would do it. I would have a classics Hall of Fame, and then I could go with the other ones. But for my classics Hall of Fame, Dungeons and Dragons obviously is right there. Then you've got Traveler, and then I think. Go ahead.
Star Frontiers.
Okay.
I don't know if I put Star Frontiers on.
Wiley,
there.
I
don't
thought
know
we
if that's
muted
classic.
Robert.
I would put probably West End Games Star Wars D6. on
Oh,
there.
really? Okay, that's
Because
interesting.
Really, Star Wars. A lot of people don't know this, but they built a lot of the Star Wars universe.
Oh,
West
yeah.
End Games guys. So that to me, that's a very impactful game. And then so that's 3 of them. I think a 4th one. I
Call
gotta
of
go.
Cthulhu, right?
Call of Cthulhu. I would put that on there. That's a great one. And then what do we go with 5th? Oh man, I don't know. I've got to think about that 5th one. Maybe that 5th one. If anyone out there has written a game and wants to be the 5th one, you can
Really,
pick
you
me
don't
up.
have another game that you think is
in-
influential in gaming, like Vampire the Masquerade?
Hey, that's a great one. That's a great one. Put that one up on 5th. Yeah, I think.
What were the other horror RPGs? I haven't played any of them, but
Before Call of Cthulhu, or just in general? Like Chill,
other than Call of Chill was the one I was thinking of. Yeah.
Chill,
You have Chill, Ghostbusters,
Cult, Ghostbusters,
Cult. All Flesh Must Be Eaten is like
Zombies.
pretty old now. Yeah,
yeah.
but that's a great system because they have a source book for everything.
What do you guys
have
think
a-
of GURPS
GURPS is
Yeah.
a great one.
being in the
I
Hall
never
of
played
Fame?
it.
Because it was like one of the first point buy games.
Yeah.
So I think
But, I mean,
that
then you're
is-
talking about like Hero System is out there too.
right. See, I would say
Yeah.
Hero System over GURPS, but I was told that GURPS has a wider range. So if you're gonna have to pick one of those 2, GURPS should be the one in the Hall of Fame. I don't know. Like, I kind of like the idea of Powered by the Apocalypse because it was like, I think, one of the most known story type games that built Dungeon World, and it built a lot of other systems after that. But that like totally ignores RuneQuest, which is the D100, king of the D100 probably.
Well,
but
I mean, Call of Cthulhu represents the RuneQuest genre.
but is that really what it's? It's not a genre. That's the system.
The RuneQuest, the D100 system is
Wow,
represented
so
by Call of Cthulhu.
That's enough. That's enough. Just saying Call of Cthulhu, huh?
I mean, because you can't put them both in the top 5. In
What
my
a,
opinion.
what about Deadlands?
Not in top 5. It's a good one, but it should be on the top 20.
Boot Hill, then? I mean, you're not going to... Basically, what you've done is you've picked different genres and picked, like, the main system for that genre, right?
Correct.
So, but now you're totally ignoring, like, post-apocalyptic genre. and Western genre.
Well, I mean, because there's an argument that Cyberpunk should be put up there too. Because
Yeah, like
it's kind of a seminal work too.
Cyberspace
5, so
right? That's why you got to think about it. It can't be.
I did. The rest of the games fall short, as I've said already. I mean, it's set in stone. It's immutable now, my friend. The list is made.
The Jose Hall of Fame. All right.
And Bert, he helped too. So
Did Sean give his?
He did.
Okay. What is it?
I think they're the same.
Oh,
I think it's
okay.
D&D, Traveler, GURPS, Call of Cthulhu, and Vampire. But, I mean... Oh, but you said WEG Star Wars.
I would put WEG Star Wars on there.
Which one would you drop?
Because I would drop GURPS.
GURPS? What about...
I think Star Wars is more impactful to the world. Western Game Star Wars than GURPS was, because a lot of what they built made it into the experience.
So you're basically saying Star Wars is more important than the generic universal role-playing system in the tabletop RPG Hall of Fame.
And so you won't consider other games that are not technically RPGs, but were also big influential games like Car Wars.
This is the tabletop role-playing game Hall of Fame. Like,
you
what
could play
about
Car Wars as an RPG, but it wasn't really written that way.
I wouldn't think so. But if that could be in there. But is that what you would say is your top five, one of your top fives?
Yeah, because he would race his Car Wars for pink slips all the time. Race for pink slips. Get in your cars.
This is Twilight 2000 for pink slips. You get your tank, I get mine. All right.
Or what was the one with the ogre?
Ogre with the giant ship. Nice. Yeah, I mean, to me, if you're going to take WEGs but not GURPS, and is that really what the Hall of Fame is about? Like, I don't know if I take WEG Star Wars, because your reasoning would be that would make Iron Crown Enterprises MERP be just as important, because it did all of that background information for Tolkien canon that they used for a long time with some other stuff.
I think the canon for Tolkien was pretty well established by then. They had access to it and they used it to write some stuff, but that I don't think
broadly,
they established. I don't think they established canon for the Tolkien universe the way that
I think it did.
Slavosek and those guys did. I don't think so.
And did you say you did say Traveler, but you didn't really talk about this? Is it the system, or is it just because it was the first? Why that instead of Gamma World or Metamorphosis Alpha?
I think it was more impactful. It was like one of the first sci-fi systems, and it's persisted until now.
Well, both Gamma World and Metamorphosis Alpha came out before Traveler.
Sure.
Yes.
Pretty sure.
I don't know about Gamma World. Maybe Metamorphosis Alpha.
Metamorphosis Alpha was claimed to be the first, but there was actually one sci-fi RPG before it that technically beat it, that was written by the guy that wrote Tunnels and Trolls.
Ken St. Andre.
Ken St. Andre wrote Star Blazer or something like that.
You just took it right out the cartoon?
Which I don't know if that's the right name, but technically it came out just before, and they were almost like at the same time, Metamorphosis Alpha. But
I still think Traveler was bigger than the others.
Yeah, and didn't TSR troll Traveler by saying Star Frontiers was the actual playable RPG, sci-fi RPG?
I don't know.
I think they did in their ad. They said Star Frontiers is the playable sci-fi RPG.
But I think they were comparing it to Space Opera.
The Space Opera was
Mayfair Games? I don't know what the hell it
Fantasy.
was.
No, that's Fantasy Games Unlimited. FGU. Send a copy to our good friend Craig Brasco. Got it at the flea market.
Oh yeah, Fantasy Games Unlimited. What else did they do? They did a superhero game, but is that it?
No, they did some other ones too. They did their stuff was rules heavy in what I would call rules heavy.
A lot of games were in that era. All right, so I think we've covered. So One last question specifically about this Tales of Argosa campaign. Is there anywhere or anything that you would like the story to go to, or that you might like to see or experience? It doesn't have to be season 3. It could be anything or into the future. Robert, Jose stuck billing us.
Yeah, I don't know. I was just gonna joke because I don't have an answer. I was gonna say an all artificer campaign.
I have allowed an artificer in a game that I ran. It was a charity game for Brian in the Park, and Dungeon Muser was in it. Kevin Madison from that that actual play stream, plus Steve Grodzicki was also in it.
I would like to see or hear. I do wonder what Steve Grod's views are on that. Like that's the one class that I'm always kind of like, yeah, I don't know.
Having the artificer in the game.
Yeah.
What do you think, Jose? You got any thoughts on the artificer class in Tales of Argosa?
I'm okay with it. I'm okay with all of it, to be honest. What I want to see is just higher levels. Try out some of the get to the point where we're picking out features. Maybe
I want to see you create your own.
I'm gonna roll a D41. Let me tell you, and that's what I'm running off. It's a strange. The artificer is somewhat strange in my opinion. Feel in relation to the rest of them, but
it feels like it could be a different genre than sword and sorcery.
Yeah, but I'm okay. I'm kind of okay with it because I've become more lenient on that kind of stuff. Playing Hyperborea, the idea of mixing the genre, like maybe the artificer is tapping into lost technology, or maybe he's discovering new technology. Who knows?
Yeah,
So,
I'd
or
be
maybe
completely
it's
cool
one of
with
those technomancy type things where it looks like technology, but it's a lot like Kevin Crawford, the way he describes magic in his Stars Without Numbers magic book. I forget what it's called.
The Worlds Without Number?
No, in Stars Without Number, he wrote a book for magic, but essentially
Space magic.
Yeah, it's essentially magic is another way of structuring mental power.
Psionics, yeah.
Yes, and that's essentially how this could be construed as well. The force of will makes this stuff work for the artificer. His will to make it work, and his knowledge of alchemical and arcane procedures makes this technology. I'm okay with it.
Okay, so on page 18 of Tales of Argosa, the backer version, he actually has an optional where you can take the artificer and change the artificer into an alchemist, and then you just pull out the things, the alchemy and mechanica. Just take the mechanica out and rework it to all be alchemy. You see that?
Yeah, I would go definitely with that. I mean, I'm not against with what Jose's saying too, though. I mean, some type of technomancer sounds pretty cool to me. It's just always when I see the artificer, it always just seems so, just on first blush, so steampunky, and that tends to turn me off.
So I actually ran an artificer, like I said, in that one game, and he had a peg leg and a crossbow, but then he would use the alchemy to boost his strength and just wax people, or that would also increase his speed or whatever. And so it was super fun, and we were playing Stonehell, I think, with Tales of Argosa, or Low Fantasy Gaming Deluxe Edition. So super funny. Wallace was his name. Super fun character. I wish I got to play him more, for sure.
James Richards says he would prefer changing it to an alchemist.
Okay, so James Richards, he wants to fucking get his Grognard card going. I see how it is. All right. Anybody else? You got any last words, Robert, you want to go into? You want to say anything? Do you have anything specific for your character in this game that you would like to see growth towards? I know Jose said he wants to see higher levels. I probably should have let you guys go up a level. I did that last time when we changed so we could get it, but we're getting kind of consistent, so maybe it'll work out that it will jump up faster. If not, then we'll have to force it to, right? So
Maybe so. I mean, the low levels tend to be, in some regards, the most fun. But
Switch to the milestone system.
it's right in the rules, and I don't have anything against milestones or metagaming player or more meta points or anything like that. So, what about you, Jose? Do you got anything that you're curious to find out about your character that isn't named Iris?
No, I think he's fully established. Now I just wait for his name.
wait, has Gabe lost his character yet?
I don't think so, but he's
right.
only played a few sessions, right?
Right.
Yeah, you make it sound like, oh, give it time, it'll happen. Yeah, plenty of time for his character to go.
You guys are a very specific player type, and I'm a very specific GM where I don't balance shit, and you guys kind of run in like it's going to be balanced. So sometimes it's not going to be balanced. It should be balanced, Jose says. No, nothing is balanced. Which is why the Lamaya didn't fight us at the time, right? Because it was too powerful, right? Was that you balancing it out?
Actually, no, y'all didn't. Y'all left. I was trying to get y'all to go in. I didn't try to get y'all to go in there, but I mentioned it, and y'all left. So she did her thing. You know, I was taking notes on what y'all were doing. There was another area. I was like, y'all want to go see that as well, and you didn't do that. So eventually, she just
Did you say it that
did
way?
all that. What?
Did you say it that way? You guys want to go that way?
Yeah,
I don't know.
Guys, you want to go check that?
You should
Well,
go
no,
look at
because
this.
they like to clear stuff out. They'll be like, "Oh, we haven't explored this area yet." So I said, "Did you guys, this whole area is explored, as you can see. The only place you haven't been is the north side of the map, where she's at." And they're like, "No, we're good," and they left. And I was like, "Okay." So I took down notes. They're leaving her, and then she did the rest of her stuff, and what happened if they ever go back to Romarium.
Not that I would ever use meta knowledge that my character wouldn't be for. I'm pretty sure we're not going back to Chromarium.
Actually, there's occasion for you to go back.
Come on! Sorry, my character. He has a nice
Oops.
Wario. All right, fuck.
So does
Battling.
Bird like Hyperborea more than, because he was kind of, it seemed like he was kind of lukewarm with low fantasy gaming, huh?
I don't know about that. Maybe.
No. Didn't he play in a session with us, and then I think his character died, and then he was like, "Yeah, I'm done with this."
Bird?
Thought it was. Maybe I'm getting that wrong.
I doubt it.
That's your cousin, right?
Oh, that's Hawk.
Hawk. Okay.
Bird's my buddy. Hawk loves
Bird
it.
and Hawk.
Bird Hawk.
That is awesome. I knew it was some ornithology related friend of yours.
That's his last name. Bird.
That's awesome.
That's Bird, his last name, man. But that is Hawk's nickname.
And then,
Yeah.
and then Hawk. That is so funny.
Second season of Buck Rogers.
Yeah. Yeah,
It's
there's
the
a Hawk in there. Yeah. I don't think they're the same person.
DB. That's right, Buck.
Twiggy. All right. I don't know if I can handle any more of this. No one's talking to us. Phoenix Mark left. Unless James Richards has anything. James, you got any questions for this player check-in number one with Jose and Robert?
I think James is most known for he was teary-eyed and was like, "Fenton! Forever Fenton." He is the forever Fenton.
I'm pretty
fan
sure
favorite.
Fenton was the guy that... James is the guy that said fentanyl. What? I don't know who the hell Fenton is. What the hell is this?
Yeah, that's right. Fenton who? I agree, James. Thank you.
That was me. I wrote Fenton who. Fenton. He just said there will be no songs for Fenton.
But
All right, so yeah, if you ever want to get into games or if you want to chat with these dudes or others that are just slightly less cool, then you can hop over to the Gamerhood Discord. I think I have some links somewhere. If not, try and contact me somewhere. OSR at OSR and Hobbs on X. Other than that, I don't know if we have anything. Hopefully, we'll be back next week. And if we are missing a player next week, I will have a vignette prepared. So I will say, hey guys, you should make some characters for Low Fantasy Gaming, and we'll have them online for us. We deal in lead. We'll kind of figure that out. I don't know about the ones that they said from Kabuki Kaiser. Maybe we'll take a look at that. I don't know. We'll see. We could always play White Sands, but they're not really good games for 2 players, I would say. This is a much better system for that, in my opinion. So let's plan on that if Gabriel chooses Karate over Tales of Argosa. We really have to get another player or see what we're going to do. So any last words from either of you? Jose first.
Gabriel didn't choose karate life. Karate chose.
What about you, Robert?
What about Stu? Think about getting Stu back.
Let's bring Stu back.
Stu, is Stu watching?
No, I haven't seen Stu.
Stu, we want you back. Along with Gabriel. I'm not saying in place of Gabriel, but
I think he is. There's going to be player strife. There's no longer character strife. It's now player strife, and you are responsible, Robert. Nolabert. Let's tip one back for good old James Earl Jones. Well done, sir. We'll miss you. And beyond that, this is Liquid Death. I already finished my my bourbon. Until next time, go ahead. What?
Why do you like water out of a can?
Because that's Liquid Death and it's delicious. Murder your thirst. This show is not affiliated with Liquid Death in any way. That is just me proposing one of my favorite drinks. Beyond that, and also we do not condone drinking while at the gaming table, but we may partake. Why are you making that face, Jose?
It's a beautiful day in the game, a beautiful day for my gamers. Would you be one? Could you be one? Out of that plunder, but don't despair. This colony's breeding great robbers. Would you be one? Could you be one?
Thanks for putting up with us tonight, everybody.